Welcome everyone to Call With Us, Take Action for LGBTQ plus rights. Call With Us is our regular series. I like to say it's our monthly series, but it's not necessarily monthly. We do it mostly monthly. Sometimes, like this month, we're doing it 2 times. I wish we could do it, frankly, daily, because with all that's going on, we all need to be taking action on a regular basis. I really appreciate all of you joining us. My name is Katie Ryder, and I am the National Director for Jews for a Secular Democracy. Today's Call With Us is being hosted by our Florida initiative. We have different initiatives going on in different states. This is being hosted by our Florida initiative, and we are co-hosting it. I am so excited with NCJW Miami, who unfortunately Laura Rodriguez, who is NCJW Miami and Jews for a Secular Democracy Florida organizer, has no power and no internet, so she is unable to join us today, but she was actually one of our co-hosts. And then also joining us and also a co-host is David Weitzman from Keshet. David, say hi to everybody. I am really excited that David is here, and he is our issue expert, and he is going to talk to us when we get on to what we want to talk about. I am going to start today, and I am going to be really short and sweet, so don't worry, talking about the importance of advocacy and how to do effective advocacy. I am a recovering political staffer, so I have been on the other side of advocacy. So I have a good idea of what works and what doesn't work. I do want to give everybody a basic idea of what goes on in your elected officials' offices, because I hear from people and they think that there's some kind of law that elected officials have to listen to you or have to record your email. There's no law. There's no law. Every elected official office handles it slightly different. And the parties, in my experience, handle it slightly differently. But most offices, probably all at the federal level, have a constituent services management software program that records calls we got on issue X, Y, and Z, calls we got on a bill, emails we received, petitions we received, and it's really just a tracking system. They also, by the way, most of them have fairly good constituent services staff that can help you with problems. So at the federal level, like if you're having a problem with your Social Security, your student loan, anything federal related, you can call and ask to speak to their constituent services director, and they can guide you and help you to the right agencies. And they have networks and contacts in those agencies. So at the state level, if you're having a problem with your unemployment, for example, I worked at the state level. We help people with their unemployment all the time. So let people know. A lot of people don't know that your elected officials have that ability. Again, it's not legally mandated that they do it. Most just do it. As far as issue advocacy, your calls are very important. They do get logged. Everything you say in the call mostly doesn't get logged. I can tell you it's mostly just a yes or no. Unless you have something particularly different or interesting to say. Now, for example, David's going to talk to you about the Jewish perspective on LGBTQ rights. That might be something they don't hear a lot. So if you're coming from a Jewish perspective, that might be an important something to say, and it might be then made a note of, and it might actually be said to the elected official. Because what happens in most offices is after they gather the data, either the constituent services director, sometimes the assistant chief of staff, the chief of staff, somebody will meet with the elected official and they'll kind of go over, okay, what happened today? What happened this week? What kind of calls did we get? Or we got like 150 calls in favor of X and 5 calls against X. And some of the real major comments were this, and this. Or we had if it's a medical issue, yeah, we had this doctor from Yale call and say X, Y, and Z. Or we had a rabbi call who said this is a really important issue to the Jewish community and we should look into it. So if you're if you're an issue expert, or if you have a particularly interesting point of view, don't hesitate to say that. One thing I'm going to really warn you about is don't be violent, don't be aggressive, Don't make threats. I mean, I'm sure none of you would, but I can tell you, you know, you get some of these issues make us all very angry, right? Don't say something off the cuff. If you make a threat, they'll take it seriously, and you might get a call, you know, and asking you about your threat. Don't make a threat ever. And don't yell or be angry at the person answering your calls. 90% of the time, it's an intern. They don't necessarily even know the issue. They don't necessarily know much about it. You might get a staffer, you might get a high level staffer, and you can also ask to speak to a staffer. You can say, I'm calling about LGBTQ plus rights. Can I speak to the staffer on, you know, the staffer in your office who handles that? You might get someone. Or you can ask for a call back from that staffer. You might get someone. Not every office would have someone who handles that, but most offices at the federal level do have people who handle certain issues, domestic issues, foreign issues. So you might get a call back from them. And sometimes that they can put an extra bug in the ear of the elected official. Um, the most valuable thing you can do as an advocate is actually go visit the elected office, mostly, you know, in DC. But if you can't make it to DC, which most of us can't, almost all of our elected officials have local offices. You can call, I already did with my person here, who is not the same party as me, and made an appointment and met with his constituent services director because I thought, you know, introduced myself, talked about issues, brought a couple people who are experts in the area, and we'll keep an open channel. I now have that person's personal phone number. So at least I have an open channel to them, right? So going and meeting with people in person does make an impact. When I was on the other side of that, when people came to meet with us, it made an impact. I remembered them, I remembered their stories, and I certainly talked about it to my to my boss. Sometimes you might even get lucky and get a meeting with the elected official. Usually they won't, but sometimes you can. Um, and the more people that do that, it's like, you know, a drip of water compared to the ocean, right? That we always talk about. The more people that make these kind of calls, the more effective it is. I can tell you anything you do is going to have some impact. Everything's going to be counted. You know, a letter that everybody's writing the exact same letter from a, you know, Action Network or something. It gets counted, it's a number, but your own personal letter gets counted more, right? A phone call gets counted. I don't want to say more, but you get a chance to speak your piece. You get a chance to tell your story to a person or to leave a voicemail, and it might make a greater impact. I always thought the calls were maybe a little bit more impactful in our office. I think it certainly varies by office, but I would say that's probably the level that's a little bit higher. So, does anybody have any questions? Or any comments on that? This is luckily, we're not even in a webinar, we're in a meeting today. So anyone want to make a quick comment? Just raise your hand. Marlene.
Yeah, hi, Kitty.
Hi,
Um, is it the case now? It seems more and more that senators and congressmen don't even want to hear from you if you're not from their state or their district.
yes, I can tell
Can't do
you,
that anymore?
yeah, no, I can tell you that's true. I mean, if you are calling, call your own elected official. You know, the guy who represents Connecticut doesn't really care what the person in Arizona has to say. I mean, is that forever rule? Not really. I mean, sometimes if the guy in Connecticut is the chair of the committee that's going to be hearing a bill, it can't hurt to call their office and say, please give this bill a hearing. And if they get enough of that from around the country, it might be impactful. But for the most part, it's more impactful for you to call your elected official. I mean, they're doing these constituent services not really out of the goodness of their heart. I mean, maybe some of them are, but really it's about trying to get reelected. So they're serving their constituents. They want word of mouth saying that they hear you, and they want word of mouth saying that they take care of you. So again, enough people from your district could make an impact. Anybody else have a question or comment? Has anybody raised your hand, and you can just you know, go at the bottom and raise hand, or just raise your hand if you've never made a call before. If this is your first time. Oh, everybody here is experienced. I should have asked that first, and I wouldn't have had to go drone on and on. But if everybody's made a call, you have a very good idea what to do. Um, do make sure you give your name, your address, or at least your zip code, and say, I am a constituent. That is a key word. They want to make sure you are. And they have, it's just, caller ID. They have your phone number, so don't try to fake it. Like, I'm a constituent in Texas. Like, no, they'll have your phone number. They'll be able to look you up. They'll know right away that you're not. So don't bother. Be honest. Be honest. Okay, so I am done with advocacy. I'm going to put the advocacy basics flyer in the chat in 1 second. And I'm going to move on to David, who is going to talk to you about the issue of today, which is LGBTQIA plus rights, which is what we're going to talk about. And David's going to kind of give you the background and the talking points and make you feel very comfortable calling your elected officials. Then when David is done, we're going to all put ourselves on mute, and we're going to literally pick up our phones and we're going to make our calls. I'm also going to put links in the chat about how you find your rep if you don't have their number, or how you find your senators if you don't have their numbers. And we're going to try to all make 3 calls. Should take us 5 to 10 minutes. Raise your hand when you're done making your calls, and then we'll come back on and we'll debrief a little bit, because I'd really like to hear what happened with everybody if you were able to talk to a live person. Okay, I'm going to put myself on mute. David, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Katie, for that great background information on advocacy. I'm David Weitzman. I use he, him pronouns. I am Keshet's Southeast Community Mobilization Manager. Keshet is a national Jewish and LGBT organization dedicated to equality and Jewish life. And in my role, I focus on advocacy initiatives in Florida, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. Um, I'm going to throw in the chat a document that walks you through the issue area, the Jewish talking points, and also a script for calling your representatives for today. And I'm going to explain a little bit of that as well before we get into our calls. And so, one of the reasons why we are calling for LGBT rights today is because over the past several years, as many of you know, LGBT people have experienced hostile legislation. And in 2025, that has increased significantly, with over 1,000 anti-LGBT bills being proposed at the federal and at the state levels. And so this is a huge significant, and most of these are anti-trans bills. And so the transgender community are specifically the ones that are being targeted mostly. A lot of this legislation includes bans on healthcare, bans on bathrooms, using the bathrooms that you feel comfortable with using, sports bans, access to accurate documentation, bans on topics in school, and censoring those, parental rights and adoption restrictions, child welfare bills, bills that regulate gender identity and gender expression, bills that ban pride flags, religious exemption bills, and laws that discriminate and allow employers to discriminate against LGBT folks. As of right now, many of these bills haven't passed. It's a smaller amount of the over the amount of bills that are proposed, which is over 1,000. I don't remember the statistic off the top of my head, but I think it's like a significant amount that don't go through. I think it's like an 80% success rate in terms of beating these bills and not making them go through. But as we know, even just the harmful rhetoric of this happening is harmful. And now there's a lot of rhetoric as well about how trans people and immigrants are the cause of the government shutdown and the cause of people not receiving their STAT benefits for November. And so this dialogue is continuously being spread and misinformation about LGBT people and the transgender community. Um, and moving into the Jewish perspective, as Jews, we know what it's like to be targeted by the the government, the community, and how misinformation is spread. And when people in our community are under attack because LGBT people are Jewish, it's important for us to speak up for those who are vulnerable. And so that's why it's a Jewish issue. And we have values that also teach us why it's important and why it's Jewish to take action. And so while you're calling your representatives today, some things that you can share with them is that I'm a person of Jewish faith and I stand against every single anti-LGBT bill that you're proposing, and it's because it's against my Jewish values. So often religion, as we just shared earlier, that religious exemption is something that's being proposed or being allowed through legislation, that on the opposite end to be able to have people of faith's voices in that space is really important. And we have values such as B'Tselem Elohim in the divine image, um, Pekuach Nefesh, saving lives, and Rachamim, compassion, which teaches us that these Jewish values, that caring and standing up for LGBT people is something that we are called to as Jewish people. And so if you scroll down to the bottom of the resource, there's a script here that you can utilize to call your legislators. You can read directly off this or add your own things as well, whatever you feel most comfortable sharing in that space. And you can also, there's not a mention of the government shutdown, but if you want to include that, you can also include that in your script, in your talking points. And then at the bottom, we have some more resources which you can check out from Keshet and other partner organizations that we work with that um, helped influence what I put on this document, and also just additional helpful information that you can use in your talking points or in advocacy in everyday life. And so I think I'll turn it back over to Katie to walk us through calling our
Wonderful.
representatives.
Is everybody able to click that link? David put it in, I reshared it. That's basically gonna give you your talking points. I do want to say one thing that I forgot. Our Florida initiative is grant sponsored by the Eula May and John Bow Foundation. So we really want to make a point to thank them, because without different grant sponsors across the country, we're unable to do the work that we need to do. So we really appreciate and want to thank them for that grant sponsoring. Does anybody, before we get started, have any questions? Everybody feel fairly comfortable and confident in what they're doing? Wonderful. Again, don't make your call complicated. Don't say 500 issues, because they're going to like write down one or two and then they're going to lose you. So don't say a million issues, say one or two issues. I agree with David. You might want to say something about the shutdown or SNAP benefits. You could add like something on there that feels very important to you right now. But I would stick to the one subject we're doing and maybe add that second if you want to. Put yourself on mute, make your calls. I'm going to do the same. All right, everybody, I think we're going to start debriefing. I'll start. I called all three. I'm in Arizona, so I called Kelly and Gallego, and my rep is Juan Ciscomani. I won't even say anything for those of you who know him. Um, and I had to leave messages. It doesn't surprise me with the shutdown. I'm not sure which of their staffers are still working and which are not. I'm guessing the interns are sent home. Um, and just kind of their essential staff is working and not answering phones more than likely. By the way, just an FYI, I want you all to know, your elected official at the federal level is spending about 6 hours a day doing call time. Call time is when you call people to donate money to you. So if you're wondering what they spend the very vast majority of their time on, it's call time. They get debriefed by their issue people and their constituent services, usually once, maybe twice a week, but maybe for a half hour to an hour at most a week. Their vast majority of their time is spent on call time, just to make you feel sad, but it's true. Okay, so please raise your hand. Who would like to speak? Adam, please.
Yeah, hi, and thanks for doing this. I only had one call to make because I live in DC, so no senators. Unfortunately, I live about 6 blocks from the Maryland line, but on this side, no senators. And I did get I left a message for Delegate Holmes Norton's staff for her. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. And Adam, since you live in DC, you're one of those people who could actually go in person at some point.
That's true.
Not trying to put pressure, but honestly, going in person, because you could probably speak to a fairly high-level staffer if you made an appointment.
Yeah. Yep. Good. We'll try to do that.
Thank you. Who else
Oh,
would,
and I just looked it up. Most Hill staff are working without pay. They're not being paid, but they're considered essential, so they
yeah,
should be working. Although who knows if they're not
right,
getting paid, some may be calling in sick to do other things to make
right.
some money.
Do you know if they have the interns in the office? My guess was the interns are sent home.
I doubt that's true. I bet the
Yeah,
unpaid interns
yeah.
wouldn't be there. Yeah.
And yeah. Oh, David posted that already. Great. Okay. Oh, Sabrina's still on the call with her senator's office. Rabbi.
Sure, yes. So yeah, I called my representative Ilhan Omar and then my senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith. And yeah, all three of them are progressives who are, well, like liberal to progressive and all at least, somewhat vocally supportive of LGBTQ rights. I spoke to a staffer at Representative Omar's office, and then for the two senators, I left messages. And yeah, I think this was interesting. Something I learned today, or something I'm thinking about, is like if I'm making calls to representatives and senators and like expressing like a Jewish perspective or offering like opinions from a Jewish perspective, that specifically like deploying my title, which is like relatively new to me. I'm ordained within the last, less than 2 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a thing that could potentially give the
Yes.
call a bit more impact.
You absolutely have that because you're a issue expert in the Jewish community, right, on Judaism. You're gonna have your voice is gonna be powerful. And if I were you, I would leave a number to call back if they ever want to ask questions, because you
Mm,
can become someone they could call on. And when I would get that, we would have doctors leave messages and we would call them back because my boss would want to know more information. So sometimes that was very helpful.
No, that's a good point. Because yeah, I'm signing on to a lot of letters and I've done, some lobbying, live, but yeah, thinking about it, that's a good point.
I would love to hear other people who called. David.
Yeah, hi. I'm also a rabbi. I serve Temple Shalom in Pompano Beach. I've been here for
Oh,
16 years, and I'm very honored and happy that you folks gave us this opportunity. I did not get any human beings. I got a machine and a blank form to fill out, but I have a very strong and lasting relationship with machines. So I left a sincere and heartfelt message on both machines for my senators, Rick Scott, whom I could do without, and I can't remember the other one, something Moody. But I was happy to leave a brief note for Representative Jared Moskowitz, who is a landsman. And I don't know, we always have hope. So thank you for being there, and I'm glad we all participated.
I hope the machines remember that good relationship when AI takes over everything for you.
Well, I left my number so their machine can call my machine.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Rabbi. Mindy.
Thank you. So this is the first time I'm making a call for LGBTQ rights. I've been very active with rare diseases, and I've been to my representative's office 3 or 4 times and met with her. I live in Sunrise, Florida, and yes, I got recordings for Rick Scott's office and Senator Moody's office, and I left those recordings, and I got a person at my very friendly representative's office, Sheila Cheerfulness McCormick, who took over Alcee Hastings' district. And I got a person, she thanked me for my time, and it was really nice to say thank you for what you have been doing in the LGBTQ community, because I know the legislation that she's voted for. So I want to make sure, I think that's also important. If you have,
Super important.
a representative, don't just go from some script, but say thank you for doing the things you've been doing. So I check I check on her website all the time the legislation that she co-sponsors. Our senators in the state tend not to co-sponsor anything, so we can't really get a feel of what they're doing. But my representative does co-sponsor things, and again, I'm in a different space as well with rare diseases, and so I check on a lot of different things. But that's my take.
Oh,
And
Mindy,
thank you for doing this. Thank you
thank
for
you
doing
very
this.
much. And Mindy's comment, by the way, is perfect. Calling to say thank you about things is also very powerful. And I'm sorry I didn't say that before. Because often you just get the people who are calling angry about an issue, right? And so if you took the time to co-sponsor, which means they have to know a little bit more about the legislation, they sign their name to it publicly. We often didn't get people who called who said like, thank you, good job, we appreciate that, because we just got people who called and said, why did you co-sponsor that? So call and say thank you. It is a very, very good point. Thank you, Mindy, for bringing that up. Jenny.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So first of all, I just want to acknowledge that I'm calling as an individual citizen, not on the part of my professional capacity. And I also happen to be the president of NCJW Miami, but that's a
Thank
coincidence.
you for being a co-host of this.
And I'm sorry, Laura can't be here. We're actually texting and whatever. But I left a message for Rick Scott using the flyer that David sent, and from the perspective of the Jewish community and on behalf, well, not on behalf of the Jewish community, but as a member of the Jewish community. For Ashley Moody, they only allowed phone number and name for the message. And then I was like, I wasn't going to call Federica Wilson because she's a supporter. And then I was like, you know what? Let me call her and thank her. And so I just wanted to underscore your point that that's really important. I did actually call the number and got like there's no message. So I wasn't sure whether or not to leave a message, but the point is the Kavanah is there to thank the supporters for their support and so that they keep it up.
Yes. Thank you so much. Marlene.
Yes. I thought it was interesting that both of the senators' offices, it was a machine that answered, but it said if you want to leave a message, press 1. If you want to talk to somebody, press 2. And then if you had specific issues. So of course you get the choice to at least tell a person in person what you're concerned about. But I did say for all three, for my representative is Steny Hoyer, and he's not exactly a flaming progressive, but I did, make a point for all of them to say, I'm sure you're aware of these issues and that you're supportive, but I wanted you to know this perspective from Jews for a secular democracy. So
Thank you so much, Marlene. I want to give kudos to David. And David, I want to open the mic to you to kind of maybe make final comments. David put together the LGBTQ plus action page that we posted, and I thought you did an amazing job on it. And basically, I don't usually follow too many scripts, but I basically said what you said because it was perfect. So kudos, David, to that. Do you want to say a few
Thank
final
you,
comments?
Katie. Yeah, I was also just gonna share. So I called similar people to a lot of people on here because it's a lot of Florida folks. So my senators are like basically the same. It's Ashley Moody and Rick Scott. And then for my representative, a person answered the phone, and then after I started talking, then they sent me to voicemail after they heard what I said. So I just was like, so then I left the voicemail after. But I was curious if anyone else had that experience. But it seems like most people got to either talk and say thank you or leave messages. But I also just want to say thank you all so much for taking action for LGBT rights. Right now, it's a really exhausting time, and as Ms. Mindy shared, there's so many different issue areas that we could be taking action for, and so many of them are intersectional too. Like I definitely mentioned SNAP benefits on all three of my calls. Um, but just it means a lot that we're doing this, and so thank you all so much for taking action today.
Okay, I guess I am going to wrap it up. I do want to say November 17th, we have another call with us. You will be getting, if you're on our email list, if you got this email about this, you will be getting an email from me about that. This one's going to be about reproductive rights, in particular, my body, my data legislation. So you will get information on that. The sign up hasn't opened yet, but it's going to open in the next day or two. I will have it ready and you will get an email from us. We also have an amazing, I don't know if everyone knows Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel. She is going to be doing a webinar for us on, oh my gosh, November 11th, I believe. Am I right, Nomi? That is already posted. If Nomi, can you get to it? Or actually, I can get to it. Let me see. I will put the sign up right now on there if I can find it.
I do want to add, it's not just a Michigan thing.
No.
Attorney General Dana Nessel was part of the Obergefell decision at the Supreme Court. So she's going to be talking about the threats to marriage equality nationally and also what we can do about it. And we'll talk about the different states that are trying to do marriage equality ballot initiatives. So it's very much of interest to everyone in the country.
Yes, it is. And I apologize. I'm trying to find, I should have had the link ready, but I will get it right this second. Okay. I'm going to put it in the chat. You all can just click on that link and sign up for it or get more information on it. You'll also get an email about it as well. All right. I think we're going to close up. Thank you again, everybody, for coming. Really appreciate it. Taking action together is at least a little bit more fun. We appreciate it. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
You too.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.